Hello and welcome back to Continental Club. We discuss the hottest topics in European football. I'm joined by Henry and McCubs as usual. We are filming this on a Wednesday actually. I'm going away tomorrow, so we couldn't film this on Thursday. So we've only seen one round of Champions League action. Henry and myself, we were watching PSG versus Bayern last night. What do you reflect now, almost 24 hours later?
Oh, well, first of all, no one I'd rather have spent Valentine's Day with, Doogie.
Cheers to
I
that.
make very clear. And some people have been busy in the world of romance this week, that's for sure. But yes, it was a great game, I thought, actually. I really enjoyed it, the second half anyway. Well, even the first half, I thought it was quite cool just to see two supposed giants, one battering the other in many regards. I thought Bayern were hugely impressive. But yeah, just the Mbappe factor. You know what? Some people, I'm sure, find him a bit annoying. He's obviously got a grand sense of self-worth. But to be fair, when he turns it on, like no one else in the world at the moment. I mean, we saw that in the World Cup final. And I think we saw that even in a 20-minute cameo yesterday when he was supposedly half fit. He was just electric. But yeah, Nuno Mensch as well. I just thought he was wicked off the left flank. So young, so talented. And in a team with so many kind of elder figures, Verratti, Sergio Ramos, etc. For Nuno Mensch to step up and be that guy, I thought that was pretty wicked yesterday. So yeah, what a game.
I like it. Yeah, I saw Sergio Ramos have a little fight with a photographer after the game, actually. Give him a little push. McCubs, were you dabbling in a bit of the Champions League last night?
Yeah, I was watching the same game as you guys. I was actually a bit surprised at just how much PSG struggled in midfield. I know Bayern have been, often strong there, but I thought that might have been an area that they would have improved on a little bit this season. It's hard to know, until they come up, until you come up against one of the best in the world. That disconnect between midfield and attack still just seems to be so present, doesn't it? Even with Messi on the field. But yeah, it's so clear that Mbappe is like so crucial to this PSG side now. They just looked, like Henry was saying, they looked 10 times better with him on. And Milan beat Spurs as well. So two of my predictions so far for who's going through have already wrong.
I thought you backed PSG versus Bayern.
He did.
I did, yeah.
All right. Okay. Already going wrong. Sorry, I misheard.
And I backed Spurs against Milan. So yeah.
In a weird way, I don't know whether you guys would agree with this. I think all four teams will be a little bit unhappy on the basis of last night because Bayern will be annoyed they didn't take more chances. PSG will just be a bit embarrassed by the first 60, 70 minutes, I think. And Milan obviously will be disappointed by not taking more chances too, and then Spurs lost. So it just feels like no one really got what they wanted from the first round, but that's what makes it so exciting. And of course, by now you'll know the results of Borussia Dortmund versus Chelsea and Benfica versus Club Brugge as well. Great to see Scott Parker take his rightful place in the Champions League amongst the elite. Best of luck to big Scotty P. Anyway, so today we're talking about the most improved players in Europe so far this season. Bit of a positive one, actually, because I feel like we've been a bit miserable in recent weeks and talking about negative stuff. So pure positive vibes today, and we're going to kick off McCubs with Marc-Andre ter Stegen, and this came in from @Mitra Adhirath. I mean, what a season he's put together.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, Barca have still only conceded 7 goals in La Liga, which is just outrageous, isn't it? I mean, if they carry on at this rate, I can't remember the last time a team in the top 5 leagues would have done so. I mean, Chelsea 2004-05,
yeah.
When they conceded, I think they conceded 15. So Barca are basically on course
to beat
for
that.
Something like to beat that, yeah. But obviously, when you look at the XG, it should be a fair amount more than that. But even then, their defence has still been pretty good, especially considering the injuries that they had there towards the start of the season. However, this Barcelona team is still, despite being very impressive at points this term, they're still a work in progress. I think they got away with one a little bit against Villarreal on the weekend. They were dominated in terms of possession. You kind of expect that with the Setien side, but still, it's Barcelona. Yeah, it's still Barcelona, and you don't expect that. Even in their lowest moments in recent seasons, they've generally tended to dominate the kind of mid-table teams in La Liga. But yeah, I mean, he's always been one of the top 5 keepers in the world for me in general. But last season, I think he dropped out of that. I think he conceded a lot more than expected goals predicted. He on the ball, I think he was a lot shakier. Letting in easy shots as well. At his near post and whatnot. And this season, he's just been completely unflappable. And he's still only 30 years old, and he's in his 9th year with Barcelona now. I think that this was a position that was potentially a problem one for them, especially given the amount of resource they've been spending elsewhere, and also the fact that goalkeepers just top level goalkeepers at least just are nowhere near as cheap as they used to be. So I think this could have been a real headache for Xavi, but luckily the defensive signings that he made last summer were probably the most astute out of all the money they spent. I know Rafinha's come good now, but still have my doubts whether he was really worth the money anyway. And I think Stegen, along with the progress of someone like Gavi, has been a real defining factor in what could be quite a successful season for Barca now. I mean, I say this, we're also shooting this. Well, we're also shooting this before the Barca Man United Europa League clash. So who knows? He may have had something to say in that game, or maybe he will have reverted to his previous season's form. But I think, it's hard to look at Ter Stegen right now and really see almost anyone who's better than him in the world. I think Alisson at Liverpool has been superb as well this season, but even Kepa at Chelsea has actually had an excellent season. But Ter Stegen, I think, he's really at the top of his game right now.
It couldn't be a better time for him as well. If you think that Manuel Neuer's obviously out injured and looks like he's potentially out of favour at Bayern Munich after sort of falling out with the board.
His outburst,
He's not getting any younger. Ter Stegen's quietly waited in the wings. He's expressed frustration at being the number 2 at Germany in the past. Certainly felt there were points in the past few years where he deserved the opportunity to be number 1. I think Neuer did come back, but now, as you say, Ter Stegen, you can't ask for much more from a goalkeeper. And considering how bad Germany have been in recent tournaments, there's no reason why he can't be saying, look, I'm 30 now, you've got to give me a chance to sort of be the number 1 for our country, because I deserve that. There's going to be a turnover of players anyway in that squad. So I think this couldn't be a better moment for Ter Stegen to step up and be the number 1 for Germany. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, he's saving close to 90% of shots. I think the next best in Europe is actually Pau Lopez of Marseille on about 84%. And that decision by Roma, by the way, to get rid of Pau Lopez and bring in Rui Patricio, isn't looking great either. I think Roma would be in a much better position because their defence is actually the best in Europe by expected goals against. If they didn't have Rui Patricio in goal, I don't think he's played very well for Roma at all. But massive credit to Ter Stegen. He's got his new hair, he's loving life, and let the good times roll for him. But as we say, he's got a big test coming up on Thursday against the likes of Marcus Rashford in red hot form, but we'll see how that goes, or you guys will by the time this has gone live. Henry, let's move over to Italy now with Ademola Lookman at the suggestion of @Smithy211, a former Fulham player, of course.
Absolutely. I think it's a great story, isn't it? I mean, we saw essentially what took him to Atalanta was the former head of recruitment at Leicester, went to Atalanta and was impressed from his time at the club there. We saw him score 6 goals in 26 games. I think he looked pretty handy. Rumour has it that Brendan Rodgers was really keen on keeping him at the club. So pork scratchings might be making an appearance in this episode.
The worst idea to bring pork scratchings to the set. I do apologise.
You know what? I think Lookman's just been a little bit unlucky the last few years. He's clearly a talented player. We saw that at Fulham. He was probably our best player in the season that we got relegated 2 years ago. He brought a lot of energy to that forward line. I remember against Leicester, actually, he was brilliant in the game there, and he's probably better remembered for that awful penalty he took against West Ham where he tried to dink it and just went straight to Fabianski's.
I've forgotten about that.
But I mean, it's little things like that can sort of mark someone's career, especially someone like him who obviously was meant to be a great prospect, went to Leipzig, didn't really work out, was at Everton. How Everton could use a player like Lookman in their ranks right now more than ever. I mean, it's just another blunder really from whoever's been managing him there over the years. But he's gone to Atalanta and he's just been brilliant. He looks so at home in that side. 12 goals and 4 assists in 21 league games. So, that's not far off 1 goal involvement a game this season. I mean, only Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia can top his sort of all-round contribution in terms of goals. So, what a return from him. And actually, if you watch them, they're great finishers. It's not like he's just getting poachers on the end of strikes. He's got a really clinical nature to him. He looks like a very, very handy forward. He knows where to be in the box. He's arriving late for crosses, and I think in that forward line at Atalanta, he's just clicking really well, and he's got a great team around him. We've got quite a young squad, in all honesty. They've managed to really successfully keep that evolution going. We're now not really talking too much about Luis Muriel and Zapata, which I think shows the kind of progress which you need for these kind of clubs to keep moving forward. Gasperini recognising what needs to be. What needs to happen then. He just looks like a bit of a snip, really, sort of the 11-12 million euros that he cost to get over there. I mean, his stats show what an improvement he's made. 2 shots from 1 to 2 key passes from 1.4 to 2.1. Dribbles have gone down, but that really just shows that he's now operating more in the final third, isn't it? He's just focusing on scoring goals, and he's sort of found his niche. I think he's a brilliant player, and I'm really pleased for him. I'm glad he's having this moment. I hope he stays at Atalanta for a few years now and doesn't maybe... He's had so many moves at this point in his career. I think it'd be good for him to have a bit of stability. And why not? Atalanta look like they're going to probably qualify for some kind of European competition next season. Have a chance to prove himself more. They're a great club. So, yeah, really pleased for Ademola Lookman. Still young too. So much to prove in the game. So, yeah, good on him.
Absolutely, and he's linking up well as well with the sort of Danish sensation that is Rasmus Højlund as well up front. Brought in from Sturm Graz in the summer, I think, and has really exploded into life in recent weeks. 6'4". I was watching some of his highlights against Lazio at the weekend. Absolutely massive guy, and just looks very, very exciting. So between the two of them, hopefully they stay at Atalanta for a little while, really mature, and who knows what happens next. Right, let's move on to Miguel Sisso 05 suggestion of Rayan Cherki. It feels like we've been talking about Rayan Cherki for about 3 years on this show, mainly in terms of, he either needs more opportunities or maybe something's going wrong behind the scenes. But he's still just 19. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. It's absolutely crazy. This is when most players would be, taking their first steps, and he's now establishing himself as Lyon's sort of main man, or at least one of them. Because, as I said, not the best start to his Ligue 1 career in terms of numbers at least. Just 1 goal and 4 assists in his first 49 Ligue 1 games, but that was only across 9 starts as well. So he wasn't getting regular minutes from the off. A succession of managers saw him as a sort of luxury player, really. But Lyon, in January, took massive risks. And we don't know whether it's going to come off fully yet. They're still having a pretty mediocre season so far. But Romain Favre left. Carl Tucker Camby left as well. They went to FC Lyon and Rennes, respectively. I think Jeffrey Adelaide also left, either permanently or on loan. So that's another player that can play in that 10 position. And since then, Cherki has really become the de facto man behind the strikers, really, behind Lacazette and whoever plays alongside him. I mean, he started their last 6 Ligue 1 games. He's contributed 3 goals and an assist in his last 3 appearances, all of which playing as a 10. And Les Gons are now unbeaten in 4, winning 3 of those games. So finally, things are looking to turn around under Laurent Blanc in central France. And Cherki has been absolutely crucial to that. He was magnificent at the weekend against Lens as well. And he's now operating at 0.7 expected goals and assists per 90. And look, it's a smallish sample size, but he's played more minutes this season than he has in any previous season in Ligue 1. So if he can keep this momentum going, you are looking at a player that is starting to fulfill that potential we've been talking about for years. So long. So absolutely delighted for him. And fair play to Lyon as well, because they took a massive risk. If it comes off this season, look, it doesn't look like they're going to make European football, but they can finish higher than they were at least at the start of January. Then that's not too bad at all. McCub, should we stay in France with Monty official shout of Balogun as well? Because this has been one of the surprise packages, most improved, however you want to term it. He's been sensational. Yeah,
he's the man of the moment, isn't he? I mean, it's in some ways it's not that surprising to have seen, a young English striker who was, bigged up for a while, actually just come good in a different European league. Ligue 1 has been probably the best place for young players, aside from maybe Germany. Those two in the last kind of 10 years or so. And I just think this Brandt side really suits him. We actually spoke about him on the scout report that came out yesterday. So if you want a more detailed thing on him, go and check that out. But basically, Rants, I know obviously Rants are a bit of a team at the moment as well in terms of their kind of international profile with Will Still, who's 30 years old, coaching them. Obviously, I think it's pretty well known now the whole thing of
one of McCubs.
Yeah, well, not quite, I mean, the whole thing about them paying 22k a week or per game to keep him on and everything, but they play a style of football that seems to suit him. They press quite effectively. I think they're actually more aggressive pressers than PSG this season, which is pretty mad considering they only keep something like 45% possession. So they're a very kind of fast-paced team in terms of getting numbers into the opposition third and then kind of trying to maintain pressure while they're there. And I think that really suits him. And there's just a lot, as a result of that, there's just a lot of creativity coming from behind him, from out wide. And he's basically playing the same game that he did at Middlesbrough, but he's just getting better service. So his like shots have gone up from like 2.5 to 3.6, I think it is. And his XG is based. So he's the top scorer in France, above the likes of Mbappe. And his XG is also the best. His XG is genuinely better than Mbappe's and Neymar's and Messi's and Wissam Ben Yedder's and and Jonathan David's. It's like he's actually like producing properly elite numbers in quite an average team. And for context, only Haaland, Kane and Osimhen have scored more than him in Europe's top 5 leagues, which is pretty mad for a player who struggled in the Championship last year. I know he didn't get enough.
That much game time.
He didn't get enough game time. He only got 9 starts, but he was still not scoring at anywhere near the rate, even in those starts. And maybe Middlesbrough just didn't quite suit him. Maybe he wasn't happy there, but he is just he's just absolutely exploded. And now Arsenal have a really interesting dilemma on their hands.
Do you have 3 top strikers?
No, I think it's not, they won't. They'll hoard them like they've done, but they should sell. They should sell him.
Balogun.
I think they should cash in while they can, because they've got other areas of the squad they want to improve. Do you
think he's got a bigger ceiling than Nketiah though? I mean, it's an open question. I don't know the answer.
Nketiah's been good.
Nketiah
has been good, but he's not been as good as Balogun. Obviously, he's playing in a weaker league. I think ultimately it depends how much Arsenal want to get for him, because if they want real big bucks, I don't think anyone outside of England is going to pay that for a striker who has had an amazing season, but it has just been one amazing season in Ligue 1. I don't think Rance can realistically afford like a 40+ million player. So I guess it depends who's interested and how much they're willing to pay. I think they'll come back to.
I mean, PSG have been talking about getting a striker for a while.
It's not a bad shout at all.
Well, they got Ekitike after he did well at Rance.
And
then true.
I wouldn't want him to go to PSG, to be totally honest, right now. I'd probably rather he'd go on another loan spell and then maybe get sold the following summer. But who knows, guys? Arsenal fans in particular, get in touch. Do you think he should displace Nketiah? Would you keep all 3 on your books? Would you sell him now, as Henry suggests, when his value is probably? Well, no, he's so young. His value might just go up.
He's 22 in the summer. I think, his value can go up for the next few years. I'm kind of with you, Dukes. I think another loan
maybe to a European club.
Would maybe be wisest, because I mean the evidence he's showing, and actually the evidence he's shown like throughout his career is that he's probably only going to get better as long as he doesn't. As long as a club who stupidly don't play a style of football that really suits his game were to take him on, I think it just has to be smart about where he goes next.
Yeah, I like that. The shouts of they keep pressure on in the final third. They push further people forward at will. Also made me think about Napoli as a potential Victor Osimhen replacement. But who knows? Maybe we're going a bit far there. Henry, bring us back down to earth. Well, actually, no. Keep the journey going on most improved players. Who do you want to talk about?
I can stay Napoli if you like.
Nice.
So I'm going to talk about Alex Meret, goalkeeper from I Am Your Spec. That's right. Yeah. He had a bit of a tough start. He fractured his arm in July 2018. That kept him out until November. And really, David Ospina had a bit of a renaissance, didn't he? At Napoli. Look. I thought he was always all right as a keeper, and he played pretty well until he left this summer as part of the big overhaul in that squad. And we saw Sidagou go in. He's a very experienced guy, isn't he? Sort of been around a very long time. But that was a sign that Meret could have his moment to shine if given it. He had that one shaky moment, if I remember, where he sort of fobbed a back pass and rolled through him and led to a goal. And I think that was the only time in Napoli's early momentum, and it just thought, oh, here we go again. But he's doubled down on an amazing campaign. He's been wicked this season. It's so good. I mean, all great teams, it starts with the keeper, doesn't it? And it provides that. Because Rahmani and Kim Min-jae, good defence. It's not an elite defence, in all honesty. Kim Min-jae is good. I mean, they're not like the most defensive assured sides that you've ever seen. They can certainly be got at, but Meret's just been excellent in the goal. Saved 2.2 XG. That's a third in Italy. Kept 10 clean sheets in 19 games. 75% of shots on target. That's 6th in Italy. So he's been the guy sort of stepping up to the occasion, and I think he's brilliant. 25 years old, so much more time, and it seems like the kind of thing where he could be there for a very, very long time, just pulling out performances for Napoli. But he's elevated himself into a higher category of goalkeeper this season, which is pretty cool in itself. So yeah, well done to Meret. I think he's great, and Napoli are lucky to have him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that they weren't going to sort of loaning him out every year and were sort of giving him the odd game replacing Ospina showed that they did have a lot of faith in him, and he's now quite settled in that side despite the amount of changes that have been in front of him, and I think he's been great. Let's quickly talk about Julian Brandt. This comes in from Michelle Koch 91. I think Julian Brandt hasn't really improved that much this year. I think he's always been really good. I really like Julian Brandt. I think he's excellent.
He's an odd one.
He's maybe not had the same consistency that he's shown in the last few months, but I think talent-wise, it's always been there. I think he's an excellent technician. He's relatively versatile in where he can play. He takes very good set pieces. He maybe hasn't, which was actually Michelle's point on Twitter, always been that good going back the other way, but I think he's added that to his game this year under Terzic, or at least developed that a bit further. And the numbers are there as well. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists in his last 6 league games, but he's contributed 10 league goals in 6 of the last 7 seasons in the Bundesliga. Very solid for Bayer Leverkusen for years before that move to Dortmund. And I think he was signed the same summer as Torgan Hazard. And for value for money, I think they were both around 25 million euros, 25 million pounds or so. Brandt's probably been the guy that's shown longer longevity, with Torgan Hazard sort of dropping off quite severely at different points. So I kind of like Julian Brandt as a shout, but I don't know whether he fits this category because I think he's always been really good. My Cubs, next one. Who would you like to talk about?
I guess Adrien Rabiot deserves a shout. This comes in from @ManuHeyF. Yeah, I feel like we've spoken about him a bit, but I guess he's back in the headlines now. He's got that winner against Fiorentina on the weekend, so aiding Juve's climb back up the table from wherever they are now, following the points deduction. But I think what's been nice actually about Rabiot this season is that I think people have finally come round to seeing the kind of player that I think he was kind of evolving into a little bit when he first joined Juve under Pirlo, I believe. Yeah, it was Pirlo who brought him in, wasn't it? I might be wrong there, but Adrien Rabiot's career it's been a blur to me, to be honest, in the last 2-3 years. But I think his best performances when he first was at Juve and where he was really effective and was actually really really important in some kind of vital wins was when he was like really driving the team. And I think because he was always alongside Verratti at PSG, and I think he was always kind of seen as a little bit more of a defensive player, I guess, with Verratti really kind of progressing play. But even at PSG, I think some of his most impressive games were when he was more on the front foot, and he's 4 goals and 2 assists this season in a relatively conservative side is pretty impressive. His defensive work has dropped a little bit, but his shots are up. His progressive passes are up quite a lot. And he's almost completed as many carries into the final third this season as he did in the entirety of last season. So his evolution has really been more evident this season under Allegri. I'm happy for him because I think he's a player who's obviously had difficulties away from the pitch throughout his career in terms of his relationship with clubs and the France national team and everything. Maybe that to an extent as well. But I think his name has always been linked negatively to things, and he's always been seen as a difficult kind of player to take on. And actually, as he proved as well, at the World Cup, he was vital to France, and he's been vital to Juve this year. I can't really think of a player who's stood out on such a consistent basis for this Juventus team this year. I might be forgetting someone.
No,
but I think he has been great.
Maybe Danilo. I think Danilo's been really good.
But I think Danilo's been pretty consistent for them for a few years.
He wouldn't fit this category.
But it's good to see because Rabiot he's still at a pretty good age. It would be nice to see him kind of stay settled at Juve, or if Juve need to sell, then go somewhere else where he's actually going to be used and actually going to be used in quite a progressive way. And maybe that's what would have happened if Man United had got their hands on him. I know he was a very unpopular choice when those rumours arose, but maybe that's the kind of project he needs to join. Come into a team which is needs someone to link that midfield and attack, and has kind of a kind of important role for him.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. It's nice to see him turn it around. I think people have undulated a lot on FD. We were big fans of him in his PSG days, and then everyone sort of fell out of love with him a bit. So yeah, it's nice to see him earn back some respect amongst the Football Daily community. Henry, final one from you?
Yeah, so you guys recommended Kubo, good shout. Lobotka, I think he's always been pretty consistent, Lobotka.
Yeah.
But I do think Stefan Shaawary from Outlook, Adam Mitch too. He's a weird one, El Shaawary. He's 30 years old now. I feel like he's been...
I thought he was way older. I feel like he's been around for my entire life.
Yes, I completely agree with you.
Well, he has, literally.
And I don't think he's ever had that amazing season people are expecting. It was obviously at Milan, but I didn't realise he's played a lot of games for Roma. Doesn't even feel like he's been part of that project for a long time, bit on loan, permanently went to China. He's now back there again. And to be honest, he's mainly been a substitute during his time there. But I think this season, Mourinho's really taken a shining to him. He's the kind of player I think that Mourinho can call upon. He's got that experience. And he's coming with some big goals. Coming with some big goals to win games to them so far. And it's now translating into sort of starts regularly. He's sort of started three of the last 4 games, 3 goals. That matches his whole total from the last season entirely, where he, like I said, he would just sort of come on and run around a bit. But yeah, I think Mourinho really trusts him with the defensive duties and the duties going forwards. There's a lot of competition for him on that left side flank, Spinazzola, etc., Zalewski. So the fact that El Shaawary is slowly becoming sort of one of Mourinho's trusted men, I think it's quite a nice little story, and maybe sparking a new chapter in his career, which at 30 years old I didn't really see coming. Because I don't think it's probably quite. He's probably not hit the heights he was expecting, but he's now part of what could be a very exciting Roman project.
Yeah, I remember about 10 years ago, he was always very highly thought of in terms of his talent, but I agree with you. Probably not had the career he has, so it's nice to see him have his little Indian summer, as it were. Guys, those are our suggestions for most improved players this season. What did you guys think of the list? Who is most improved, though? I'm going with Stegen, I think. Well, he's always been good. I'm going with Stegen anyway. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let's move on to big match predictions. Okay, reviewing last week, as we always do at the start of this section. So Monaco versus PSG, the Cubs went 1-1. Henry went 2-1 to Monaco. I got persuaded into going 1-0 Monaco, and that earned me a point along with Henry. Thank you very much. It was 3-1. What a result that was for Monaco. Fully deserved as well. Leipzig versus Union Berlin. Henry and I backed RB Leipzig. My Cubs went 1-1. It was 2-1 to Union Berlin, so no points to us. Henry, you loved one of those goals.
Yeah, Yannick Harbour's strike.
Oh my God.
I was saying we wrote about him as someone who's doing so well this season. I mentioned him last week as someone that had been really important to their midfield, and he's just stepped up and absolutely smashed home a volley. Yeah. So sweetly into the top corner. Good bit of commentary. But yeah, what a win. What a win. And so Union style as well. Didn't really do very much in the game, but doesn't matter.
Yeah. Effective. Yeah. I love it. Lazio versus Atalanta. I went 3-2 to Lazio. Idiot. My Cubs went 2-1 to Atalanta. Henry went 3-1 to Lazio. It was 2-0, sorry. So you're just 1 goal out, but 1 point to my Cubs. Yeah. So there's no real change in the table, I'm afraid. I'm on 43. Henry's on 31, and my Cubs is on 24. The first game kicking us off this week, is at 7:45 tonight. It's Sassuolo versus Napoli. 15th versus first. 35 points between them. Henry, there have been very few opponents. Well, only Inter have managed to take a win against Napoli this season. Do you see that changing tonight against Sassuolo?
Nope, not at all. But I probably come back to bite me. No, I don't think so. I think Sassuolo have again lost talent in the summer. Hamid Traoré moving on. I really liked Hamid Traoré, and I think he's going to be great for Bournemouth if they stay up. There's a lot to ask on him to sort of step up and keep them afloat, especially when it's so competitive down there. But yeah, I mean, they're having a bit of an odd season, aren't they? They were 8th after only losing 2 of their opening 8 games. They lost 8 of their next 10, dropped down to 17th, but now they've gone unbeaten in the last 4, got points, beat Milan, Atalanta, great wins. But they don't have much great pedigree against Napoli this season. Already lost 4-0 at the Diego Armando Maradona. So yeah, I just think Napoli look too good. It's not like they're scraping 1-0 wins. They're battering opposition. And in Kvaratskhelia, they've got someone who can just turn it on. We saw that last week. Just drop to him, drops inside and slots it through, scores a goal on his birthday. I mean, they've just got that ability to smash you when you least expect it, really. So that luxury item, I think, is going to do the trick here. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Napoli.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'm actually going to go next because there was a few comments last week saying that I got an advantage by predicting third each time.
Yeah.
So
we've been saying it for months.
I'm going to go second. And yeah, I tend to agree with you. It's very difficult to look past Napoli. Maybe they'll make some changes because they got Eintracht Frankfurt next Tuesday. Maybe that would be sensible. But the most pleasing thing about their season is that Victor Osimhen's been able to play pretty much every game. He's had such bad luck with injuries over the last couple of years. We've got an Explained coming out about him on Sunday. Really fascinating backstory, I think. He's overcome a lot of strife in about 4 years to become the most desirable forward in world football, and it's really, really exciting. In this game, though, it's difficult to look past Napoli. They're scoring goals for fun, as Henry says. You went 2-0, did you say? I might go 3-1 to Napoli. The Cubs?
Interesting. Yeah, it's hard to bet against Napoli, to be honest, isn't it? I kind of thought in January maybe they were going to have a bit of a blip, and they haven't.
15 points clear.
Mad. And that, for that reason, I think they probably will rest players. Like, that Frankfurt game is huge. I know they've got, they're quite lucky this is on a Friday, although, I guess Serie A are pretty, almost certainly better than the Premier League at protecting kind of teams when they've got big European ties. So they still do have a good 3 days after that game to prepare, but nevertheless, an injury to Osimhen, on the eve of the Champions League last 16 time would just not be the one. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get taken out. And they have had great backups in terms of Simeone. Raspadori can also play there as well, can't he? So, I don't think they'll struggle overly, because I think that forward line is where they probably will rest players, and they have enough quality there. I think a player who maybe doesn't get talked about enough actually in terms of this Napoli revival is Hirving Lozano. He's had a great season, I think. He was really dangerous on the weekend as well. And it's great to see him, kind of blossom, at a time, in a team where the focus isn't all on him. Yeah. I think because he was for a while he was seen as a bit of a poster boy for the future of Napoli, and that first season was so difficult for him, wasn't it? So maybe he'll have an impact in this game. And yes, Sassuolo just not. Yeah, I mean those two results against Atalanta and Milan were great. I think against Milan, just everything they hit went in. To be honest, they were just the goals were just so good. I wasn't mightily impressed by them in their previous game. I think Napoli will take it, but I'll say 2-1.
2-1, there we have it, a bit closer. Right, let's move on to our second big match prediction of the weekend. It's taking place at Saturday, 2:30 p.m. It's Gladbach versus Bayern Munich, first versus 10th. 17 points between them. And it feels like Gladbach. I don't know why Daniel Farke is Gladbach manager. Do you not think that is such a big job for someone of his calibre, or what he's shown in the past at least? I think he's done very, very well to land that job, and I think their form is pretty iffy, and I think their future is a little bit difficult as well. They've obviously lost Jan Sommer now. Marcus Thuram, their top scorer, is leaving in the summer, almost definitely. And their best players over the last few years, be that Hoffman or Stindl, they're all approaching 30 or beyond 30. Florian Neuhaus, someone like that, who'll interest clubs, Quadio Kone. I think there'll be a lot of change at Gladbach this year, and it's just not a great time to play Bayern, despite the fact Bayern had a game in midweek. As we said, except for a nervy sort of 15 minutes or so and an offside goal, they were really, really impressive against PSG. They barely allowed them any of the ball for the first 35 minutes. I think the possession was about 70%, I seem to remember. PSG only had one shot in the first half, and it was a free kick which hit the wall. It was a domination, and I thought Upamecano, De Ligt and Pavard were all brilliant at the back. It was unfortunate that Pavard ended up being sent off. But in this game, I just see the Bayern train rolling on. I'm going to go 3-0 Bayern. The Cubs?
Not a bad shout. And that game against Bochum was just very routine for them, wasn't it? And Kingsley Coman, I feel like he's
great game yesterday.
Great game yesterday. Great goal on the weekend as well. He's in really good form, and coming into form at the right time. I can't see this being anything other than a Bayern, fairly comfortable Bayern. What did you say? 3-0.
3-0.
I will go with.
I think even more goals.
I'll go 4-1 just and get
the
go for
bonus point.
Yeah,
love it. I mean, Henry, we were watching Bayern yesterday, obviously, as we've mentioned about 14 times in this show, and you just love a bit of Jamal Musiala.
Yeah, I mean, amazing. Really is such a special talent. It was so good. I will stress that Bayern haven't been turning it on in the Bundesliga all the time this season.
Also, Gladbach, bit of a bogey team.
Yeah, bogey team. They never seem to do that well when they go to the Borussia Park. So, just to play the odds, otherwise I feel like we might all be saying the same back in the same teams this week. I'm going to go for a draw on this one. I'll say they'll grind out a draw. I know Jonas Ormlin, I thought he was going to be really good. He's been playing brilliant for Montpellier this season before he joins. Says he's conceded 1.45 more XG than he should have 5 matches today. He actually had a very good first game. They do face a lot of shots under this Farke side.
A bit like Norwich used to.
Yeah, a bit like Norwich. But it's okay. I wrote about them recently. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw just to play the odds.
I like it. Playing the percentages. The guy goes third. Very sensible. Okay. PSG versus Lille. Yeah, interesting. After so much stick. See what it's like when it's on the other foot, Henry. Get at him in the comments. Right, PSG versus Lille, Sunday 2 p.m. First versus fifth. There's 13 points between them. Henry, you get to go first on this occasion. Lille, gone under the radar this year.
Yeah, I think our friend Alex, Euro expert, did a great little piece on.
I do love his short videos, by the way. Check them out.
They are brilliant. On Paulo Fonseca, and it got so much love on Twitter anyway, which shows just what a story really he's unearthed there. Fonseca, who's been sort of fairly maligned, I would say, over the last few years. His Roma side were bad.
They conceded a lot of goals.
Defense,
they were not great. They didn't really have a defence, but it doesn't matter if you. He's coaching an amazing attack at Lille this season. Second best attack by expected goals, third best side by expected points, and their top scorer Jonathan David. He's having an absolutely fantastic season, and probably will finally get the move, because that's kind of what stopped him getting a move in the summer, wasn't it? Because he'd had a great season, then he dropped off, and no one really wanted to pay the money that Lille were after him. And
how much do you think he'd cost?
In this market, probably about 40 million euros, 35, 30 to 40 million.
That little? I think it might be more. Given the dearth of like centre forwards and how many teams want them.
I think he's got another year in his contract. I think he's got another year, it's tricky. Then we've seen Remy Kabaya have an amazing campaign as well, and we were writing that off as one of the worst transfers of the summer.
I think I wrote that one,
yeah. That came. I mean, it was fair enough. He was pants. But yeah, he's been playing brilliant this season. I'm pleased for Lille because I think they've had a really tough time, sort of chopping and changing, whatever. But yeah, they've been excellent this term. Only 2 defeats in their last 14 league and games. That includes wins over Monaco and Rennes. Monaco, good Monaco side. Now fifth, 6 points behind third place Monaco, and it's really up for grabs for those European spots at the top. Do I think they can beat PSG? I think there's a lot of pressure on PSG to get a result in this one. I'm gonna go for my old 2-2. I'm gonna
back.
Chestnuts.
Yeah. Just when you least expect it. The old
love it. Yeah, I mean they have had a serious talent drain. On the pitch, Soumare, Botman, Shelik, Yilmaz left as well, of course, and also in the dugout, Galtier went, Luis Campos went, their sporting director. So credit to them for keeping this project on the road, and they could still finish in the top 3. It's not insurmountable. McCurbs, PSG. Is this the time to get Mbappe starting from the start? Do they bring Fabian Ruiz into that midfield? Me and Henry were talking last night that he looked like a much better midfield option alongside Verratti than Danilo Pereira and Zaire Emery. Well, who's playing wider, of course, last night. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think in many respects they probably just went a bit too conservative against Bayern, which is pretty mad given they were at home. And yeah, I think you probably do, because I think you need to combat Lille's very attack. I mean, yeah, I think this is the best looking Lille side we've seen in years. Let's face it, they've been so defensive for so many years, and Galtier was able to maximise output. But I think Fonseca has just got them playing so much better football. So yeah, I think I would bring in Mbappe. I think if he's getting to full match fitness, I think why not? I think you can always take him off if you need to give him some rest. But I think I think having him from the start will be important. I think PSG have looked, they just looked out of sorts without him in the team, haven't they? But I think equally, I can see them conceding. I think I'll go for 3-2 as well. I'm going to go for the jugular.
3-2.
So PSG.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. And you went 2-2. I might go for another draw as well. I might just go 1-1. I think PSG are really out of sorts at the moment, and Lille might be able to capitalise. Simple as. Let's quickly do a quick file. We actually haven't done one in ages, so please, when you respond to my tweet with the suggestions of most improved player, for example, also send in some quick files, because I always do put it at the bottom of the tweet. Anyway, this one comes in from he_football. Favourite football game you've ever been to? I'm sure we've talked about this before, but I actually can't remember your answers. Henry, do you have one that springs to mind? You've done some quite good travelling in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, nothing will beat the Colombia-England World Cup game I went to, but you guys
That's
all
a
know,
good one to drop in.
all know what happened. You all know what happened there. So, quickly, I went to actually a different Colombia game in the World Cup, Colombia-Japan in 2014, where James flicked over the keeper. And also they brought on Mondragon in goal. He became like the oldest World Cup player ever at the time, and he was like a remnant of the Escobar era of like Colombian football when it was growing up. There's a great documentary called The Two Escobars you can see about the Escobar that scored the own goal and then got assassinated essentially during the Escobar time. It's a really good documentary. I recommend you go and find it. So he was like a remnant of that still going, and he'd been a sort of a defiant figure, and he came on, and I was with all these Colombians, and it exploded, and that was really cool. But yeah, so that was really fun. And then the first game I ever went to was like Chelsea Spurs. Ever went to with my dad, and it was like 4-2. And I think Mutu scored and Lampard or something like that.
Mutu.
So I've never forgotten that. So yeah,
Pre-ban Mutu.
So a bit, pre-ban Mutu, what a player. He was a good player, wasn't he? But
I knew you'd bring some culture to that answer. Nice one. The Cubs, you're a bit of more of a football aficionado. You'll watch any league, you'll watch any time.
Millwall, Blackburn.
Are you going to go for like a non-league game? I mean,
to be honest, I can't think of a top-level game that has beaten like some of the non-league games I've seen. I've also seen a lot of terrible non-league games. Let's get it right. Like, I mean, when low-level football is boring, it's incredibly boring. Yeah. But it's okay because you know you're with your mates on the side of the pitch and you don't have to focus on it. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, in terms of top-level football, I don't know how many classics I've seen. I mean, going to see Man United win the FA Cup in 2016 against Palace, that was great, and actually it did end up being a pretty exciting game towards the end. Also was very close to Pardew. Yeah, I was right. I was very close to Pardew, and he did that. Was it? Yes. Yeah. No, because I was just behind the managers. Because that was quite funny. And then like,
did you see it at the time?
I saw it. Yeah, I think I did see it.
I think I did. What are you doing?
Yeah, I think I did see it. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think much of it at the time, but then it was like, that was very silly, especially when we equalised straight away afterwards. But I think the best game I ever saw, and I only saw the second half of it, is at Hampton Richmond Borough. I was like 15, and it was back when you used to be able to go in for free at half time because they just opened up the gates, and went in, and yeah, I think it was like, yeah, it was 0-0 at half time, but then I think Hampton scored. Then I don't know who the opposition were, but then basically it just had everything. Like, a player literally got stretchered off. I think 2 players got injured. 1 actually got stretchered off. There were like 3 red cards, I think, in the second half. I think 1 going to Hampton, 2 going to the opposition. It was Basingstoke, I believe. I think it was Basingstoke.
And the mighty Basingstoke as well.
And then there was like, I'm pretty sure there was pretty sure one of the goals was scored because there was a back pass rule got breached, and then from that free kick, and then I think there were like 2 penalties, 1 that got scored, 1 that got missed, and then there was a really good last minute equaliser from Hampton. And I'm sure there was other stuff as well, but it was just everything that you'd want in one half of football. And I think in terms of a live football match, I've never seen anything quite like it.
Absolutely love it. I mean, I've got 2 quite boring answers. Well, not boring answers per se. My first time we're derby, we won 2-1 at the Stadium of Light. Fabio Barini scored quite late on from a Josie Altidore sort of flick, and that was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
And then the playoff final in May. I thought, it was the best day of my life, probably.
It is great, isn't it?
It is a really fun day out when you win at Wembley, and we had pretty much the entire stadium supporting Sunderland. It was epic.
It's better than any cup final, the playoff final. It's because it means so much to the fan bases. And
also because we knew that if we'd stayed another year in the club was slowly rotting, basically. We needed to get out of the division. We had to do it then. We scraped into the playoffs and then somehow managed to make the final and then dominated Wickham. So, yeah, that was the best football game I've ever been to. Guys, what's your favourite footballing memories? Get them in the comments down below. And thank you very much for watching Continental Club for another week. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Henry, if they have, but they want to watch more Football Daily content, which is always a great idea, what do you think they should go watch?
Yes. So Star Wars this week? Is it me versus the Cubs? It might
Is it?
be.
Yeah.
Might be.
No, I think it's me versus Oba.
Wow, there you go. Equally fun. So go watch that. I think it's been a great series this year. I think it's been back with
I'm
a
surprised
vengeance.
you're saying that, yeah.
You know what? I actually enjoy watching it. So yeah, there we go. I like people to stop.
You might have to do a lot more watching next year. We'll see.
It's all right. He's holding out for the playoff.
He's holding out for the playoff.
It's all good.
Anything from you, the Cubs?
A
Scout report you were saying.
Yeah, go
what was the title of that?
I believe the title is something along the lines of 3 English wonder kids who are outshining superstars. So we've got Folarin Balogun outshining Kylian Mbappe, of course, and
Deal with it, Kylian.
Yeah, and who else? Rico Lewis, who's obviously giving Kyle Walker a real run for his money this season, and another player, an English player in the Bundesliga, who hasn't actually played that many minutes but has been very impressive, I think, this season.
Surprise factor. Yeah. Go check that out. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I'm very sorry again about, what are they called? Pork Scratching Gate. Won't be eating them again on set, but have a great weekend and we'll catch you next week. Goodbye.